I'm joined now by Jason Demers, who is a University of Regina professor. He has launched his own prison writing course, and as well, 3 years ago, he authored a report that looked at warehousing prisoners in Saskatchewan and some of the problems in the provincial justice system. But there is an overlap through the federal penitentiary system as well, Jason. Can you talk to me a little bit about the conditions that lead to some of these rallies and uprisings that we see?
There absolutely is a connection when we're looking at some of the work that I was doing on the provincial system and what's happening in the federal system. One of the main things that we've seen is warehousing conditions. So massive overcrowding. When I started doing my report, I was actually looking at in 2012, I guess it was, there were inmates, 5 inmates were suing the federal government for conditions at Prince Albert Penitentiary. They were alleging nervous shock based on feelings of helplessness, sleep deprivation, due to the overwhelming situation of being in these warehouse conditions where violence had doubled in the years between 2001 and 2011. So this really stems from an overtaxing of the prison system. Too many people who are incarcerated, and that leads to a lot of neglect, a lot of violence, and a lot of animosity between correctional officers and inmates, and so on.
You've had a lot of personal conversations with inmates to get a handle on what the situation is like. So tell us why prisoner rights are so important, in your opinion.
One of the things that I tell my students in particular is that we're very quick to label people who are incarcerated prisoners. Of course we do. I mean, that's who they are, so to speak. But when we do this, we actually separate people from their own individuality and understand them through a label that produces a lot of animosity and a lot of stereotype. And so when we actually speak to people who are incarcerated and understand them as individuals and look at some of the things that people at Prince Albert are asking for, which is edible food and decent portions, better living conditions in general, access to medical care, access to cultural programming, we can start to understand these people aren't asking for the moon. This is absolutely reasonable what's being asked for. So I think that's where the voice is extremely important, because all of a sudden we start to understand people as individuals as opposed to a label.
And does your prison writing course help with that understanding?
Absolutely, and we actually look at some of the writing that's been produced out of various not uprisings, but various protests that have occurred in Saskatchewan's prisons.
Thanks so much for your time today, Jason.
Okay, thank you.